Hey, good morning, all. Welcome to the Common Good Podcast. Back to a Tuesday rhythm around here. Hey, Rob.
Hey,
You probably see by my background and choice in leisure sunwear that I'm in the southern office of O Common Good down here at the inside the vehicle of Common Good Courage and Hope, Good Force One, that is preparing to start making its way around the country come the summer. So, hallelujah. South Florida. It's going to be 79, sunny, breezy.
How is it? 79. Yeah.
Oh, weather-wise,
You've been
great.
Have you been to the beach?
I haven't yet. No. I came down with my grandson because he and his mom she had a work thing to come to, so they met here, and then he went off to Disney World,
Nice.
which they went to Magic Kingdom. Complete nightmare for them.
Never been.
They hated it.
Yeah.
Then had to same day buy tickets to Universal Studios. Apparently, Magic Kingdom, there's nothing going on. Most things are shut down. There's construction everywhere. I think Trump has taken over Magic Kingdom and has just ripped all the glory and magic out of it and has turned it all into a crappy construction zone. So then they had to buy brand new tickets to go to another park.
Wow.
Anyway.
That is a
And then I
real
got
problem.
sick. And I don't know if you've ever been alone in an RV in Florida and sick for 4 days. It's terrible. It's terrible. Really get your mind erasing on what you're doing with your life. I can tell you that.
Well, as a person who has gotten sick on a Vote Common Good bus, not alone, sadly. I wish I had been.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you were sick. Yeah, you were sick like 6 years ago, right about now, pre-COVID. You were like, weren't you like an early COVID sickie?
No. I'm referencing the time I threw up on the bus and splashed it on the poor driver's shoes. As I was.
Yeah, I'm not hearing your words.
Oh my goodness.
There we go. Now I heard you.
Okay. I was not muted, but yeah, I was referring to the time that I threw up on the bus and splashed it on the driver's shoes, and then was sitting on the curb somewhere in California in the middle of the night in my underwear, covered in my own vomit, feeling like I really am not sure about what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah, that was a tough day for you. That was a tough day.
That was a tough day.
It was also a tough day when the driver, because of my role in the organization, handed me a bill for his boots. Oh, yeah, I didn't know that's how that worked.
I had splashed
You're
some-
quiet
some
again.
throw
There's
up
no
on it.
sound. So I don't know if you can do something about that sound situation.
I have no idea.
Well, this is a real dandy of a podcast that we're off to. Are you back?
Back now?
Yeah.
Am I back?
Yes, you are. What do you know? Can you tell what's happening, or should we relaunch, or what should we do?
Didn't do anything. I'm not muted. I am.
Huh.
Well,
I don't know. Maybe
I'm
other
gonna
people
sit
are
here and make sure I
hearing
don't.
and I can't. I don't know.
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Wow, it's
I
getting
feel like I'm in a commercial.
it's really bad. I don't know what to do here.
That must be a no.
I don't know if it's just on my end. Okay. Well, I don't know. Let's try it like this, and maybe we'll get an echo or something.
Can
I don't know.
you hear me, Doug?
Yeah, I got you. Maybe other people were hearing you the whole time. It was just me that couldn't hear you. You know, like
There's probably a metaphor in there somewhere.
yeah. I was gonna try one, but every one of them that I was coming up with quick there didn't go well. All right. How are things out there in Squirreled Away somewhere outside Fayetteville, Arkansas?
Yeah, things here are beautiful. We've had really gorgeous weather. It has been a little bit on the windy side, but we're plugging along. We're doing good. Watching basketball. Our Razorbacks are in the Sweet 16, so we're doing good.
Okay, so is this the women's team, the men's team, which
The men's team.
All right, yeah.
Our
I'm not
women's
just trying to
team
show your
is-
bias that we all have in sports, where when you say the Final Four, it's rarely is it women's. But I was at a bar last night, a sports bar where there's
Yeah.
music, and they had 37 televisions around, so nobody has to move their head more than 2 degrees to see a television set. And the Syracuse, the women's tournament game, the Syracuse Orange, that's their nickname, we're playing UConn.
Historic, like the juggernaut of women's college basketball.
And at the end of the first half, the score was UConn 60, Syracuse 12.
Still the juggernaut of
12
women's college basketball.
Wow. Syracuse is ranked number 9 in the tournament or the world or the universe or the history of time or something. There was a 9 next to their name. And they had scored 6 baskets in a half. And then the second half, I don't know, things they got better. They must have come out a little more fired up. But wow. First of all, for a team to score 60 points in a half,
yeah,
it's just not a lot of time for that. Like, it's not a lot of trips up and down the court to score 30. Well, here's nearly 30 baskets.
The Razorbacks on Saturday night. Yeah, Saturday night. Played the Panthers of High Point University.
Oh. Never heard of it. Is it a pretend university? Is that like one of those for-profit ones?
I don't know. I'd never heard of it. Apparently, Google tells me, or Siri told me, that it was in North Carolina, because apparently all the basketball schools are in North Carolina. And, High Point University had won in the first round. This is a second round game. It was all that the Razorbacks could handle. I mean, like, who are these kids from High Point? What is this? It really is a remarkable thing to watch the NCAA tournament.
Fair enough.
Where, it's one and done, and man, it feels like anything can happen.
Especially in college basketball. I was a college basketball player, and the things a team can do and get really good at can create a kind of chaos that when you get to a tournament, because teams that play in the same league, in the same are playing each other. There's big group think that goes on in sports. Coaches come up in the same system. There's expectations about how offenses are going to be structured, how defenses are going to be structured, what the pacing is going to be, all this. You get into a tournament, and there can be teams that have whipped, famously told in the movie Hoosiers, have come up with some plan that the other teams aren't aware of. And man, in the NCAA, you get these teams that just come in like a beehive, and they are they're really, especially in the first half, when they've never seen these teams, maybe they're looking past them a little bit, and these scrappy players are just doing things that are bending the minds of, because a lot of college basketball players at that level, especially highly ranked teams, have been elite players for a very long time, through junior high, high school, now they're in college. They're used to a certain kind of deference to their athletic ability and prowess and all. So it is part of it, which I don't know if all other, I don't know if hockey does it that way. I don't know if, football is the same, if you can really swarm a team with a bunch of nonsense and make crazy happen and hustle and all that stuff. But 5 players on 5 players in basketball, it's a fabulous thing.
Well, thankfully, High Point's Cinderella run came to an end. At the hands of the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Good. Finally, big dollar major universities, state-funded professional athletes finally won again. Good. The world's back. The world's back the way it's meant to be. Hey, who's going to win the whole thing, Rob? And when is it? Isn't like April? Isn't March Madness something that happens in April now? Is that where we've gone with all this?
Yeah. I have since high school. I have been a Duke Blue Devils fan. So I am rooting for Duke along with the University of Arkansas Razorbacks. I think Arizona could win it all, though.
Oh,
and which is troublesome because On Thursday, the Razorbacks play Arizona.
Oh,
So, yeah. Yeah. So,
good luck. Hey, a great little comment here from. Sorry, let me get our comment proper so people can read it from Alex. Alex is talking to Kimberly in the chat and saying she's glad to be on live and she has to set her timer for every 10 minutes on Tuesday mornings and keep checking for the live stream. So our live stream promises, just they keep people, right on the edge of glory. So sorry about that, everybody. But, hey, today we promised a 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern time, 8:30 Mountain, 7:30 Pacific, some 4:30 Hawaiian time, and we delivered. So
hey,
there you go.
Look at us.
Hey,
Doug, I mean, everything's right in the world, right?
yeah, it feels good. Feels good.
Just things are the way they're supposed to be.
Good Lord. So, Trump's son-in-law and son of convicted felon. Not a lot of guys get to say, Dad's a felon, father-in-law's a felon, and I get to negotiate on behalf of the United States of America for the end of wars. One guy, Jared Kushner, has the privilege of such a thing. And I come from a lineage of a felon myself. So, I get you, Jared. What's going on with the Iran war is so off the range now of anything reasonable. Rob, I don't know if you are still following the president of these United States on the Twitters and on Truth Social. I know you have a Truth Social account. I don't have one, but Trump posted this.
Yeah.
I am pleased, he starts, to report, now this isn't all caps, I am pleased, so
Wait,
typo,
I need you to be yelling it.
Third word, third word in, there's a typo. He's trying to say I'm pleased, but he didn't proofread it, or somebody didn't proofread it. I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had, over the last 2 days, very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Okay, just starting there, Trump is saying that the country of Iran and the United States have had productive and good conversations to bring about a resolution to our hostilities, framing this as a hostile act on behalf of the United States. This is the President of the United States saying our hostilities against Iran, they are now working out a deal with us. I thought, Rob, as clear as I can remember, a total and complete surrender was the thing that was being called for.
Yeah.
But now apparently our hostilities are going to be negotiated in their end regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East based on the tenor are detailed, in-depth, constructive conversations that have the right tone, the right tenor. Iran has on and they continue to bomb sites around the Middle East with you at all. In fact, if you want our demands, Iran has said we restart our nuclear program. Like, there is none of this is true. And then he writes the next word, detailed constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week. I've instructed the Department of War to postpone blah, blah, blah. We're going to talk about that in a minute. The word that he chose to use in the phrase, and constructive conversations which will continue, is the word for the mythical character who flies on a broom. He wrote the word WITCH.
Doug, you know how
Which?
there are times where you don't know if it's Donald Trump himself writing a Truth Social post or if it's one of his staffers writing it for him.
Yeah.
You know, what is his actual thoughts versus using his social media platform as, you know, some kind of just official communication, welcoming a new somebody, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I think when you see the word witch, I think you go, I think I know who wrote this one.
Spelled WITCH. Look, I have made more than a person's fair share of typing errors in social media posts. I don't think I've ever confused those words, so maybe I'm being a bit judgmental. I am not the president of the United States writing a statement to try to explain the United States hostilities of military action against another nation.
Yeah.
Then he goes on to say, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iran's power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. All of those words spelled as intended. You know what I was told by this White House when they were asked by one of our great current allies, Japan, why they didn't include Japan's military and governmental leadership in understanding the beginnings of this war?
Why is that?
We don't want to telegraph our plans. Oh, really? But you want to say, for 5 days, we now promise we're not doing anything. I thought that was taking options off the table. I thought the idea of surprise was the whole point. I mean, the insanity that goes into these people's daily contradictions. And again, the thing that's so heartbreaking about all of it, this is about a war we have going on, killing thousands of Iranians, innocent people, U.S. soldiers dying, being put in harm's way, and this clown show is out there making up a story and tacoing himself. Trump always chickens out. He said, we are going to, if they don't open the Straits of Hormuz, we are going to destroy their power grid, which, by the way, he found out constitutes a war crime. You can't do that under international law. The markets lost their minds, so he had to back off, negotiate with himself, make up a fictional story, which maybe was cast upon him by a witch. It's Rob.
Listen, Doug.
How does a guy like you running for Congress even begin to talk to the good people of the 3rd congressional district in Arkansas? You running for the 3rd or the 5th?
Yeah, third
congressional district in Arkansas, to say we have a dangerous person making decisions and statements.
Now, Doug, I think we need to give him the benefit of the doubt. This is a president who is a peace president. This is a president who now holds a Nobel Peace Prize. He doesn't know how to go to war. He doesn't know how to execute these campaigns against foreign countries. It's just not in his DNA to be able to, it's not in his good genes to be able to do this well.
He's not a tough guy.
He He's a peace guy.
He's got soft hands, little hands. He's a conceptual developer. Doesn't have war in his hands. Okay, can I show you a couple
Either that or he's blitheringly incompetent at everything he does.
Hey, here he is on the tarmac. Which, again, of all the things I could wish for presidents in the future, could we
doing these interviews on the tarmac? The background noise.
I mean, my God,
it's
man.
ridiculous. Come on, this is 2026.
Yeah.
Have yourself a conversation in a normal place before you walk out on the tarmac.
It's so tired. It's so old. The like, I'm so much on the move. You just have. I mean, they assemble a press gaggle right out there, and some guy who's got the headphones on, and his job is to make sure people can hear what's being said. Is like, why do we have to do this? This theater of jets and engines, and Biden did it. Obama did it. Like,
they all do it.
Done.
They all do it.
Can we be done with the tarmac talk?
Doug, I'll tell you this. When I am elected to Congress in November, and I am sworn into office at the beginning of January 2027, I will make the fundamental commitment to you that I will never do a tarmac interview.
You'll be like, kill the engines. Kill the engine. If you're asked to answer a question outside of a Marine helicopter, you're going to be like, kill it.
That's right. I'm trying to talk here.
Yeah, we got
Not
stuff
good
to
audio.
do. All right. Here's Trump. Here's Trump on the tarmac.
Tomorrow morning, sometime their time, we were expected to blow up their largest electric generating plants that cost over $10 billion to build. One shot, it's gone. It collapses. Why would they want that? So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
You said there's many points of agreement with Iran right now.
Many.
What, can you give us a
Many, like 15 points. 15 points.
Iran has said yes.
Well, they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. That's number one. That's number 1, 2, and 3. They will never have a nuclear weapon.
They said yes to that?
They've agreed to that.
The Strait of Hormuz, who's going to be in control of that?
That'll be opened very soon if this works.
How soon? And who's in control of it? Will Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By who?
Maybe me. Maybe me.
You want the United States to be in control?
Me
of
and the Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah.
Rob, the
He's just making stuff up. He's just making
clearly
stuff up on the spot.
on the spot. I mean, you could watch that over and over and literally watch a man's eye where the reporter asks, when will the Straits of Hormuz open? I mean, this is so important for global energy and trade. And he's like, well, immediately. Well, if this works, then soon. Then soon. Okay, well then, how do we not get back in the situation again? Who's in charge of it? Huh? I don't know.
Me.
I don't know.
Maybe
me.
Maybe me.
Maybe me.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Me. Rob, not even thinking about America first. Not even thinking about make America great again. Not even thinking about should the President of the United States be spending their time. What competency do you think the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, no matter which word you want to use, what capability do you think he has to manage a shipping passageway in the Middle East? It's so insane. And this guy is thinking this is going to calm the markets. And the fact that any investor is like, oh, wow, I feel really better. Trump thumb typed out in all caps some statements telling the world our military plans. Now I think things are going to be okay. Here's what gets me, Rob. The number of people who literally believe the guy. The headlines. Trump says that negotiations are underway. Yes, Trump said that. Do you think that's true?
Right. Can we jump back to the very beginning of what he said?
Would you like me to play it again?
Yeah, give us like the first, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds.
Tomorrow morning, sometime, their time, we were expected to blow up their largest electric generating plants that cost over $10 billion to build. One shot, it's gone. It collapses. Why would they want that? So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal. We're doing a 5-day period.
Tomorrow, we were expected to blow up blow up their power plant. They don't want us to do that, so they called. Doug, why were they expecting us to blow up their power plant tomorrow morning? Their time, not our time, their time. What? Why? Why would they expect that?
Because Donald Trump told them, if you don't open the Strait of Hormuz, we're going to bomb your power plant. He literally wrote on True Social, these are our military plans. Like,
I somehow missed that. Apparently, the leadership in Iran didn't miss that.
No, they didn't miss it. But here's the thing: if you were in negotiations,
imagine you're the Iranian like that immediately. He's just sitting,
making shit up. Again, Rob, the thing that gets me, all the rationale that the war as fast as we did was you can't tell anybody. You have to have surprise. Stupid presidents are negotiating. Like Trump's whole thing is
compared it to Pearl Harbor while the Japanese sat in the Oval Office
and made a taxes, you cheaters. Yeah, it was just he is making this stuff up, and there is no one around him, or people are telling him, hey, we've got some great negotiations going on. But what really happened was he found out that his threat, because what you can't do in war, there are rules to military conflicts.
Yeah.
And to the degree that the rest of the world is not calling this an illegal military conflict is something to be negotiated out at the highest levels of international affairs. But one of the things that is not negotiable is that you cannot take out you cannot use military attacks on civilian power. You can't do that. So he threatens them with a war crime. Okay, can I show you then that
on his way to Memphis to tour Graceland?
One government official, I'll get to who that is in a moment, and Senator Lindsey Graham were dispatched to the Sunday shows, as they call them, to try to make an argument for the war. Mm-hmm. All right. Get a load of this.
Is the president in the process of winding down this war or escalating the conflict?
Again, they're not mutually exclusive. Sometimes you have to escalate to de-escalate.
The sanctions were in place to prevent Iran from getting any of the money. They will have access to some of the money now.
Again, Kristen, you're missing the point. In essence, we are jiu-jitsuing the Iranians. We're using their own oil against them.
Here's what I tell President Trump. Keep it up.
Do you know who Scott Bessent is?
Yeah. Can we just...
He's the Treasury Secretary.
Right.
Why in God's name is the Treasury Secretary out explaining our war plans with Iran? You know why? Because to the Trump administration, this has nothing to do with anything but the markets. And he is trying to calm international investment in the United States. The Treasury Secretary explaining us jujitsu in when We lessened the very sanctions we put on Iran. We took them off because it was damaging us. And then he calls it we're jujitsuing them by giving them more money for their oil so that they will get blah, 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 blah. This is the man that literally is signing every dollar bill put into circulation for the next.
Not individually.
No, but his signature is on each
Really
one.
be something if he was signing everyone individually.
Well,
Listen, I remember. Let's set aside the content of what these individuals did, but just the affect, the seriousness, the gravitas of people like Donald Rumsfeld, Colin Powell, General Schwarzkopf.
oh, wow. Forgot about that guy.
Yeah. Like Dick Cheney. Like, these were serious people whose job it was to engineer wars around the world. And when they would go on the Sunday shows, they would, carry the public line, or like the company line, the country's line, and make their case. And the Trump administration is sending out the Treasury Secretary?
Treasury Secretary. And not just on one day, repeatedly sending out Scott Bessent to explain.
Was Linda McMahon unavailable?
Linda McMahon, whose career was made in professional wrestling and now is she again the head of the education department? Is that what she's?
Yeah, she was in the first administration. She was the head of the Small Business Association.
Okay.
And now she's the head of the Department of Education.
Department of Education.
Which I think, why isn't she? We got to educate the American people about this war. Let's send out the education secretary to talk about it.
It just
unbelievable.
Yeah, and you know what's shocking is who it's not. It's not wannabe superhero Pete Hegseth, but more importantly, it's not the Secretary of State of the United States of America saying we are in war, soldiers are dying, innocent people are under threat, and we're taking this seriously. Instead, it's Scott Bessent.
Take it seriously when you're wearing clown shoes. I need to see Scott Bessent's shoes. I need to see his shoes. Are his shoes the right size?
When Scott,
why isn't RFK Jr. out here talking about this war?
It's Scott Bessent saying we're essentially doing jujitsu. Jujitsu. Are you dropping to the ground and scooting on your butt and sneaking up on the Iranians in the negotiations and wrapping your legs around them and it's just okay. It goes on, and I'm sorry.
In the process of winding down this war or escalating the conflict?
Again, they're not mutually exclusive. Sometimes you have to escalate to de-escalate.
The sanctions were in place to prevent Iran from getting any of the money. They will have access to some of the money now.
Again, Kristen, you're missing the point. In essence, we are jujitsuing the Iranians. We're using their own oil against them.
Here's what I tell President Trump. Keep it up for a few more weeks. Take Cargill Island. We did Iwo Jima. We can do this.
Rob, we did Iwo Jima. We did it. We took care of Iwo Jima.
Doug, can I ask
in
you
World
a
War
question?
II.
I heard someone say jujitsuing in the background. Is there someone with you in that?
No, it's a video clip that I had to edit, and somebody else was talking over it.
Okay.
I had to go find those things.
Yeah.
Hey, on the screen here, I have just a little research on an attack in Iwo Jima in World War II, where 6,821 United States soldiers were killed. 19,217 were wounded. There were 26,000 total casualties. The battle lasted from February 19th to March 26th of 1945. And it was the first time in the Pacific War where U.S. forces suffered more total casualties than Japanese defenders inflicted on them in return. Lindsey Graham picks that historic reference to say, this is what I would tell President Trump about our war in Iran and taking over Kharg Island. It is
listen, both
the
you
level
and
to
Lindsey
which
Graham
these
have
are
done
not
this
only
thing
not
where
serious, men.
Hold on.
Asinine.
Both you and Lindsey Graham have done this thing where you have mentioned Kharg Island like this is something people know. The majority of Americans cannot name the Vice President of the United States.
Of course.
How are we supposed to know what Kharg Island is?
Well, only from this podcast, I guess.
No,
Yeah,
I'm asking for me. What is Kharg Island? I don't know.
It's one of the areas that Iran
Straits of-
uses for its refining of oil. So if you take over Kharg Island, you basically have taken over their oil refining process.
When we start thinking about the important islands in America, certainly the Hawaiian Islands, those are important. Manhattan Island, Staten Island, important island. Martha's Vineyard, really important island where I honeymooned. Marco Island is an important island, right?
Yeah. Captiva.
Captiva. The Florida Keys.
Well, if you're an Iranian, Kharg Island is one of those. So it's important for lots of reasons.
Is it like Mackinac Island where there's no cars and you're just you're riding around on your bicycle and eating some fudge?
It's crucial to the infrastructure of Iran's oil
Do you have to take
industry.
a ferry there like you do when you go to Martha's Vineyard?
I think you're missing the point, though. I think what Lindsey Graham wants to do is to reach back into time and to say, pick the most bloody.
Airbnb? Are there Airbnbs I can get on Kharg Island?
Pick the most brutal battle in the history of World War II, where we lost more U.S. soldiers than our enemy lost their defenders, and say, I'm going to tell the president, just like we did then, we can do it in Iran. Yeah. It is so unbelievable. I mean, if you are a veteran and you hear Lindsey Graham casually throwing around, let's conjure up the great death of American soldiers in a battle. That's what I'm going to tell President Trump we can do. We can do it. I mean, if you're going to be a warmonger, at least know your war history. It is unbelievable. All right, one more clip. And then we'll talk about some other things.
Can I just point out for anybody that might be wondering, Kharg is spelled Kharg, which gives it a little I don't know, it took it up a notch for me. It's
okay, you were thinking Cargo Pants Island.
Yeah, that's right, Kharg Island. There is a monastery on Kharg Island. An ancient monastery. There's other notable archaeological sites, and Wikipedia has a great picture of Iranian oil company employees on the beach of Kharg Island in 1970.
Wow.
So I mean, a beautiful place.
Beautiful place. Hey,
I think, yeah, absolutely. We should sacrifice. I'm saying facetiously. We should sacrifice as
break their backs. Context, believe it would cripple Iran and blah blah blah. Speaking of another beautiful island, the America first, no foreign wars, no. Spend our time, our treasure, our money, our effort at home. Said this.
I think Cuba, in its own way, tourism and everything else. It's a beautiful island, great weather. They're not in a hurricane zone, which is nice for a change, They won't be asking us for money for hurricanes every week. But I think Cuba's see the end. All my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now.
This makes me angry.
The President of the United States sitting in the office saying, I can take Cuba. It'd be a great honor. What a great honor to take Cuba or free Cuba, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Just I
could take it. I could free it. I could do whatever I want with it.
I can do whatever I want. It would be the greatest honor of my life. I mean, again, just the level to which how he understands the presidency is so sickening, just sickening. That it's about an honor of his life to get to use military economic force to take over another nation that we have weakened by our obsession with the fear of communism in 2026 and have busted the economic ties between that country and the United States for half a century over the obsession of a small number of Cubans who still want reparations from a governmental takeover in the 1950s. This guy is going around the world deciding which nations he thinks we should take. America first. No foreign war entanglements. Vote for Kamala Harris. You're going to have wars galore. Sitting in the Oval Office just dreaming up.
He has his hands on the desk of the Resolute desk. I saw on Comedy Central, so I'm not going to steal this joke. Weekend Update, whatever that show on Comedy Central, the only show on Comedy Central and anybody watches. They're saying he's holding his hands there on the
Bob
desk.
Show?
Yeah,
Burger Bob.
like you hold on to the safety bar on a roller coaster.
Oh my God.
Like that's how he's got his hands on this thing. My goodness, why, Donald Trump? Why? We have enough going on. Listen, oh my goodness, Doug, this is so unnecessary. There are so many things that historically we have said, we recognize the President of the United States has very little impact on. Very little impact on the cost of gas. Very little impact on actual inflation. Very little impact on job creation. All of this stuff. The president the job the president does gets judged based on these things. But when push, and here is Donald Trump throughout this entire second term, simply doing things because he can, that the impact of them are actually negative for the American people. Doing things that normally the president has no impact on gas prices. Yep. Unless you start a war in Iran. Yep. Normally, the president has no impact on consumer prices. Unless you impose tariffs on every country in the world. Normally, the president has no impact on any of this stuff. Unless you unnecessarily futz with it all simply because you can and want to. And you are so incompetent. And here's the thing. Donald Trump is so incompetent that he has been completely manipulated in this second term.
Yes.
He has been completely manipulated by the interests and the desires of others. It was Israel and Saudi Arabia who wanted a war in Iran.
Yep.
It's not in the United States' best interest.
No.
He was manipulated by Benjamin Netanyahu and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia to use American military might to bring down
to reinforce what Israel wants to do. Yep.
Donald Trump doesn't care about Cuba. The only way Donald Trump cares about Cuba is the opportunity to build Trump hotels.
Or to feel like he has the great honor of doing the thing that he's being told Americans have wanted to have happen for all these years.
He is being manipulated by Marco Rubio and the Cuban Republican voters in South Florida, and the Cuban lobby that wants the communist regime in Cuba to fall. Donald Trump he is not a leader. He is a figurehead who is easily manipulated and used by people. That's what we have now. We have someone who people will do whatever it takes to get him to do what they want him to do. To get him to do what they want him to do, including like, I'll wear the shoes that don't fit.
Yeah.
If that's what it takes, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Because he is so petty and so manipulatable that that's what's happening here. Donald Trump has never been weaker than he is now.
Yeah. Hey, I want to play that clip one more time, and I'm going to do a little interpretation of what he's saying.
Okay.
So here he is again, talking about Cuba.
I think Cuba, is in its own way, if tourism and everything else, it's a beautiful island, great weather. They're not in a hurricane zone, which is nice for a change. They won't be asking us for money for hurricanes every week.
I think Cuba, it's a beautiful place with the tourism, and it's not in a hurricane zone, so they won't be asking us for hurricane relief once a week. Who's he talking about?
Haiti.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
He's referencing Puerto Rico. Oh, you know what? Cuba, it's not in a hurricane zone. It's got great tourism, great weather, not in a hurricane zone. We're not going to get requests for federal dollars of hurricane relief every week. Puerto Rico is a United States territory. That whole thing he just described, I'm going to take it. It is like he is manifesting in his small little broken brain that our relationship with Cuba is going to be like the United States relationship with Puerto Rico. That's what's in the plans of these people. To acquire it.
It's really frustrating, Doug.
It's unbelievable. Just off the top of his small little brain, just blabbing nonsense.
Doug, it was about a year and a half ago. You and I were talking on the phone, and I had mentioned to you that I was going to be spending my 50th birthday alone because my wife had to go out of town. And, I had asked some friends if they wanted to go to Cuba with me. And they had all said no, that they couldn't go. And I was feeling a little bummed about that. And Doug, you said,
maybe your friends can't go, but I could go.
Yeah, I'll go. Well, I had invited my cigar smoking friend.
Okay, yeah, whatever.
And you're like, I'll go. And that led to a mad dash of you and me and a couple of other friends of ours, producer Dan and our friend Brandon, spending 4 days in Havana.
Last January, like just over a year ago.
Yeah,
Yep.
of that trip. I came home And very angry at the American government. Because the Cuban people, beautiful, funny, passionate, resourceful. I mean, we had a wonderful time. And at the same time, we saw the impact of two governmental systems that locked in such conflict that it does not do the Cuban people any good. And Doug, I don't think that Donald Trump taking Cuba is going to make the lives of the Cuban people better. I'm just looking at the track record. I'm not sure. I know the lives of Americans aren't better because Donald Trump has been in charge. Are the lives of the Venezuelan people better at this point? I should go get it and read to you. I've got a dear friend who's in his late 80s. His name is Charlie Hardy. He was a Catholic priest who spent most of his life in Caracas, Venezuela, and now lives in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And after the U.S. military actions in Venezuela, he traveled to Venezuela again to visit with people and to see what was happening. And he is actually right now in Cuba. And he just the other day, a couple days ago, I got letters in the mail from him. He had sent about 4 different letters. He was about ready to leave for Cuba, and 4 different letters in one envelope. And his telling of what he is seeing. You keep talking,
somebody's knocking on my door.
His telling of what he is seeing on the ground is so very different from anything that the President of the United States or the Secretary of the Treasury or any other administration official is telling us. It's simply not the case. It's not the way it is. And so often, what the media is telling us as well, it's simply not that way. And to get these kind of firsthand reports, these eyewitness reports of what is actually happening, what it's really like. Doug, Charlie has seen it in Venezuela. You and I saw with our own eyes what it's like, what it's actually like in Cuba. And listen, there are significant things that need to happen to make life better in Cuba. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And that starts not with Donald Trump taking over. It starts with ending the embargo on Cuba, allowing there to be fair trade and free trade. If we're so scared of communism, what are we doing with China?
Yeah, I mean, what are we doing with Russia?
Fair trade and free trade, like that's what we do.
Yeah, look, when we were there, we saw those big ports that had been built during the Obama years because Obama was opening up Cuba, and the thing that was going to transform Cuba was more open interaction between the governments, but mostly the businesses. And that all went away when Trump was elected, and then Biden didn't do anything about it to put it back on track. Democrats have had, other than a little bit with Obama, really a vision for solving the situation that's tormenting so many people in Cuba. But now Trump's idea, he gets the great honor of taking it for the United States. I think he's hinting to turn it into a territory, and it's terrible.
Yeah,
but Doug, again, look, this man's got less than 3 years in office.
Doug, when we were there, we talked about there is so much shoreline that I mean, it's gonna be freaking Trump hotels.
Well, it's not, because the man's not going to be in office when any of that stuff happens. Like, he's not going to get a development deal. Look, the worst thing for Trump in his exploitative attitude about any of these lands is if it actually became part of the official government system in the United States.
Yeah.
Because there goes that. This is a guy that literally can't run a casino profitably. So, no, it's not going to have Trump hotel. I mean, I know you're not saying this, but it can feel like, because for more than 10 years, we've had Trump looming over our heads.
Yeah.
And it's going to be more than 12 years that he's been in the power of the presidency zone. He's failing. His time is coming to an end. Any plans that he has now, doesn't even have time to. He's not going to get the West. He's not going to get the East Wing finished, let alone a hotel built with his name slapped on it on the shorelines of Cuba.
Doug, I don't
but
know
the damage he'll cause in Cuba by doing something stupid, which he's already doing, unthinkable.
I don't know if you've got any footage of his time in Memphis, but he was that tarmac interview that we watched. He was on his way to Memphis, or he went to Graceland, because we're in the middle of a war. We have ousted a duly elected leader in a foreign nation in Venezuela. We are threatening another nation's sovereignty just off our border. We are continuing to threaten allies around the world. We've got rising gas prices. We've got a volatile market. We've got a crisis with transportation and travel. We've got the government partially shut down. We've got accidents happening on American runways. And Donald Trump is signing guitars at Graceland, talking about how he never had a chance to meet Elvis, but maybe you should talk like you met Elvis, because Elvis is great and he's great and everybody's great. He is so unserious.
Yes.
And his voice, these clips of him in Memphis at Graceland, his voice is so frail.
Yeah, he's really getting frail.
He's frail. He's weak.
And
he's not a lead.
And you know what blows my mind, Rob? I watched an interview that Tucker Carlson did with the guy who was the head of the counterterrorism task force and resigned last week.
Yeah,
I've forgotten his name. You know what I'm talking about, though?
Yep.
Big Trump, real super Trumper guy, but quipped over Iran and all this stuff. It was startling to hear in that ecosystem this YouTube video where Tucker Carlson and this guy, Chris, I think his name is, are talking about how brilliant they believe Donald Trump is. And I don't think they're just mocking it up for the crowd. I think they actually believe that he's brilliant. And in that world and in that ecosystem, how they think he's this unique character that because of the deep state can do blah, blah, blah. But then Tucker Carlson is also really pissed about Iran and believes that Trump is being manipulated. So somehow he's a genius who can see things other people can't see, but he's being manipulated. And this counterterrorism guy starts talking about how he was blocked in his role from investigating the shooter who shot at Donald Trump at Butler, how he was prevented from investigating any further into Charlie Kirk's murder because he was called off by the FBI and others. This is the person whose job it is, as he says it, to investigate foreign entanglements in any of these activities. Slow walked, called off, couldn't get responses, just couldn't do their work, couldn't do any of it. Then he describes breaches in Trump's security, which I was not aware of. I didn't remember hearing about these, but like a police officer, off-duty police officer with a weapon on his body walks up and greets Donald Trump. Like in the last few months. And he's like, and then somehow they went out, Trump and J.D. Vance or somebody went out to some restaurant in D.C. and the like environmentalist group were at tables next to him. So the Pink Brigade or something. You know what I'm talking about? Did you hear about this?
Code Pink? Was it Code Pink?
Code Pink. Some of those people get close. So this guy says, this is the guy who's he's a nutter, full on Trumpy, Trump's a genius, blah, 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 America first, ran for Congress guy under all that stuff. But he's like, look, here's what I think's going on with Iran and Israel. Because of the Butler shooting, where Trump, some thing over the weekend where Trump said something and then did something, and then the next weekend he was shot in the ear. And then Charlie Kirk was totally against Iran. He said, I saw Charlie Kirk in the stairwell of the West Wing, and Charlie Kirk said to me loud enough for everybody here, get in there and try to stop this war with Iran. This guy says that's what Charlie Kirk said to me, and then he's dead. And we can't investigate this. And then the Code Pink people get close, and then somebody breaks through security. And he's like, all of that to me looks like Israel and some other forces are sending a message that we can get to Donald Trump. And if you can't keep me safe, and he said this, he goes, but he's so brave, he would gladly lose his life for this. But what he's afraid of is his family. And that if we can't keep President Trump safe, what does that mean for his family? So here's the guy who was the head of the counterintelligence thing saying to Tucker Carlson, basically, I don't have any proof, but here's my view. They're putting the tap on Trump saying, we're going to kill you and we're going to kill your family unless you do what we tell you to do. He's so I'm telling you, Rob, it is like, oh my lands. This guy, and he's the guy that quit his job over Iran because he couldn't.
Wow.
It is worth watching, and you'll just be like, first of all, have you ever watched Tucker Carlson do a long, and Tucker Carlson's being pressured by the FBI and being threatened by the FBI for his stuff on Iran, and they're all still defending Trump, but blaming the deep state and all the rest of this. But if you ever watched Tucker Carlson, it blew my mind and freaked me out at a way of like, God, this is what people are listening to and what they're hearing and the frame that's being set. And
wow. Wow. Doug, a couple of meanwhiles. Meanwhile, Mark Wayne Mullen is now the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. Any thoughts on Mark Wayne?
Yeah, well, here's my thought. It's just simply this. How much do people hate being senators? Let me ask you, Rob. You're running for Congress. You're going to be elected a congressperson, and you'll have to run for office every 2 years to be able to continue to support the good people of West Arkansas. Senators have to run every 6 years. They get to create laws. They're members of 1/3 of the federal government's branch. Why would all these senators be so willing to give that up to be the member of an administration? to be a cabinet position that you know is going to run out. Best case scenario, in less than 3 years, if you're incompetent, as I'm sure he is, why does a guy who worked so hard as to become a congressman and then a senator, what is it that they give up for this?
Yeah, I'm not
Look,
sure.
Why do people want to be members of an administration like this? You go from being a full member of 1/3 of the branches of the U.S. government to being the secretary under the executive branch for what? I mean, of course, Donald Trump's single rule, he won't nominate anyone to any job that he has control over who's more competent at doing that job than he is at doing his, which means they have to be terrible at their job because he's not going to be the worst employee in the room any longer. So he's going to be terrible. Nothing's going to change. He has anger issues. He's a broken, sad man. But why in the world? I mean, people trying to become senators act like it's the greatest ring you could get your hands on if you want to serve the American people, have influence and power. And then as soon as they can go work a short-term job for an administration, they take it.
Yeah, especially because he's from Oklahoma and, serving his first term, he's going to, he could be in the Senate for life. Doug,
do you know, honestly, do you know of Marco the boatloads?
Yeah. Assisting TSA.
Okay, here's my take on this, Rob. The Democrats are winning in this fight. Down funding within ICE. Because look, ICE agents are not trained TSA agents.
No, they're police academy dropouts.
They're now pulling people from what they said was such crucial work to keep America safe into managing people at airports, crowd control, and checking bags. Because they can't continue to fund TSA, which is central to keeping America economy moving, without pulling those people away. So in a Scott Bessent-like jiu-jitsu move, somehow Democrats pulled ICE agents away from their damaging jobs to wasting their time at America's airports. But look, Democrats hold the line. They're already so they're trying to figure out some negotiation. They were talking like Republicans were talking like they had a deal, and then Trump wouldn't sign it. So they're trying to blame Trump on all this. Senator Kennedy was out babbling about all that stuff. So, look, Democrats, there's only so many things we can do. You can hold the line on this. And if they get a supplemental to fund TSA, just keep holding the line on DHS funding. Which, in 2005, you couldn't have imagined that we would allow Department of Homeland Security, the newly created structure to solve the problems that gave us 9/11. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll just hold off the funding on that because of ICE rules, ICE agent rules of being able to go with masks and nameless uniforms and cars. Hey, Rob, we have one more bit to play. It's going to be a very long podcast today.
All right.
We have our do-gooders that we like to talk to. And,
we've started doing this.
We did a pre-record.
Yeah, we started doing this thing where we're talking to people that are doing good in the world. People that in some way, shape, or form are trying to make a difference and trying to do something. And that shows up. And this is like the great beauty of it, Doug, is that there's such a multiplicity to it, that there's so much to do. And some things are going to work, some things aren't going to work. But man, let's try. Let's invest in all sorts of different approaches and let's throw all the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And so, we had a conversation with some folks from Citizens for Impeachment, and they are organizing and supporting candidates that will impeach Donald Trump. And not just impeach him, but convict him and remove him from office. And so, fun kind of thing that they're up to. This is an interesting conversation. And we talk about, hey, whether this works, whether this could work, whether it wouldn't work, whether it's worth the shot. Hey, there's kind of that been there, done that. We've already impeached this guy twice in his last term. What are we doing this again for? But I think I think folks are gonna enjoy this conversation because it really taps into the sense that so many of us have, that this guy is so corrupt. There's got to be some accountability.
Yep. All right, and so here it's a pre-record, so it starts with us kind of recounting all of this. But and this is going to end the podcast. So when this interview ends, we're going to be done. So we won't be live posting your chit chats here. So we'll say thanks to everybody for all of your contributions here on all of this. Thanks to all of you for being a part of this. Alex and Peggy and Lucia and. Wow, there's so many. Mike, Dave. Yeah, thanks to all of you for always being a part of the Common Good podcast. And Alex and Kimberly, glad you were able to be on live with us today. And now a sort of live version because, an unedited interview from a week or so ago. Ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
Hey, y'all, here's that promised segment we told you about where we talk to some do-gooders. Rob, tell us who we're talking to today.
Yeah, I love this. We're talking to people that are just doing creative, interesting things in the world. And, they're getting involved in all sorts of different ways. And today we are talking to Kira Havens at Citizens Impeachment. And Kira, thank you for being with us. You want Donald Trump impeached?
Not only Donald Trump, but I would like him and all his enablers impeached as well. And you know what? Let's throw the Supreme Court in there while we got it.
There we go. Hey, let's go big or go home. And I should clarify, not just impeached, because he's been impeached multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Impeached, convicted, and removed from office.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct. We need 51% of the House to impeach. We need 2/3 of the Senate to convict. And once convicted, we can remove him. But it is a matter of getting those two bodies of the government to actually work together to deal with this constitutional crisis that we're in. That's the challenge.
Yeah. Okay, so we want to talk about the how and the why. Let's start with the why. Why is this a thing for you that you have that you've devoted part of your life to and your energy and your attention?
And
what
launched
is it
an
about
entire website for it. Citizens.
and organization and a whole infrastructure and stuff we'll talk about. How, where does that come from?
Yeah.
So I'm a veteran at the United States Air Force. My job was to launch nuclear weapons if the president ever gave that order. That was my first job straight out of college. So I'm very familiar with with strategy, with how the United States presents itself on the world stage, right? How we deal with foreign policy. And one of the things that every service member does is they swear an oath to the Constitution. And that oath is to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And right now, I have no trouble saying that there is a domestic enemy in the White House. It tramples on the Constitution endlessly. And so for me, this is how I am fulfilling that oath. And this is true of many of the service members that are in our coalition of candidates that are running for office this year. A lot of veterans are stepping up right now because we did choose to serve this country, and we continue to serve it, just in a different way. And it's exceptionally frustrating to have to be the person that steps up to do this, because there is an entire body of government who is explicitly granted the power to rein in the executive, and they aren't doing anything.
All right, so Kira, a couple of quick questions. We're going to talk a lot about why Donald Trump deserves to be impeached. I believe it. Clearly you believe it. I think Rob believes it.
Oh, yeah.
But your first job out of college was to launch nuclear weapons? Like
it
they
was.
give that job to recent college graduates? That I'm sure
yeah.
a lot
And
of
when-
people are going to hear this and be like, oh, okay, hang on a minute.
Wait a minute, what?
Oh,
How does
it is
that
20
work?
to 24 years old, and that is everybody in this unit. There have been, it is quite frankly remarkable that it operates as well as it does. But in recent years, there's actually been a big focus on changing the culture, so it's not quite as like Wild West as it used to be. Folks were cheating on the tests that you have to make sure that you're proficient. At one point, somebody was running drugs and guns out of one of the maps that we have. It is. What I want to stress, though, is that this particular nukes is a relic, right, of the 1980s and before, and it has been massively funded from that point on. And ICBMs are the oldest of the old there. You know, we've got other members of the nuclear triad that have more updates and more upgrades and all of that. They're so old that recently it was announced that you know, there's just not even the parts to make for the ICBMs that are on duty. And so this is an example of like a legacy system that is kind of being propped up by these old people in Congress that remember when it used to be functional and useful. And
my goodness. Okay, so I guess this raises the stakes as to like if you got 20 to 24-year-old pushing buttons, you want to make sure that the person who gives the orders for that is not somebody who's so unable to fulfill their duties. That,
that's how I got involved. Yep, in the first time Trump was president, there's a group called Global Zero, and I wrote a whole essay about how, you know, we used to depend on the person in that office having the personal capacity for judgment and integrity and an understanding of foreign policy and U.S. interests, and having all of that. That's why it is linked directly to that person for the capacity to like make that order. And in the 60s, this worked. You were able to sit across from a table with another human being and talk down some escalations. But that is not possible today with this person in office. And that really did shift my perspective of how we can safely and appropriately use this power if we can. Yeah. Because there are no checks on the presidency right now.
Yeah, and in some ways in politics, there's this term people use sort of cavalierly to say, you know, it's kind of the nuclear option, and which, you know, we should probably take more seriously the fact that the United States is the only country that's ever used nuclear weapons, and we did it twice, and one time was just to practice. So we have a sad history with that kind of thing. And it's given to the right is given to the president, and this person's not capable. So the nuclear option version of removing a person from office is impeachment. All right, so
I don't think so. Actually, that's just written in the Constitution of how you do it when somebody is unfit for office. It's not really nuclear at all. It's just kind of how it goes. If you know, they lived through a revolution where they had to, you know, fight a war to get rid of their king, and so they wrote into the Constitution, if you don't want a king, this is how you avoid it. You impeach them, you convict them, and you remove them from office. That's it.
Yeah. How does this not escalate into every president that's elected having some percentage of the population who didn't vote for the person just continue an ongoing, you know, impeachment launch as soon as somebody's elected to office? Whether that's the president or the Supreme Court or a member of Congress, like lots of people can be impeached. What about the argument that elections are the means by which we do this? And Donald Trump showed who he was, then ran on that, and he got reelected by the majority of voters on Election Day. How do you talk about the relationship to the election versus the behavior that the president's endeavoring in while in office?
Sure. So first, a little bit of a historical perspective. That is actually something that the founders, the framers were afraid of, is that, well, this guy is just going to get impeached all the time. Nobody's ever going to agree on anything, right? But the structure of our political system is such that it almost never happens. It's happened more recently in recent years. But it is not a tool that is commonly used by Congress or to exert their influence on the executive branch. So that piece of it, the worry that someone will always stand up and say, well, let's impeach this guy. I mean, as someone who has been doing that for a year, there is plenty of friction to keep that from just being like a willy-nilly thing that occurs, right? The real struggle is if your Congress believed it was a co-equal branch of government and the Congress decided to do that continuously. Yep. That would be a problem. But since Congress doesn't actually think it's a co-equal branch of government at this point, we're fine. It's not a problem. I should not, as a citizen, be telling Congress to do its job. They should have the integrity to do that job themselves. They don't, and that is a whole problem on its own, which we are also trying to solve. As far as the election goes, I do not wait to take out the trash until November. I handle it right now because I am an adult that understands how to take care of my responsibilities, right? The folks that want to wait for November to do an election, all right, you sit with your trash until then. I am going to focus on getting it out of office.
So great. So Kira, when I started my campaign for Congress, the reason I decided to run is because I believe that, as Doug likes to say, Donald Trump is a threat to the planet and everything that lives on it. And we have a system of checks and balances. We have a system that is designed to make sure an executive doesn't overreach from the executive branch. The courts are iffy. Sometimes they check and balance him, and sometimes they don't. Congress has just ceded seemingly all of its power and authority over to the president and has shown that they will absolutely refuse. And I think that's unacceptable. And I think the only way that we, the people, have the opportunity to stop Donald Trump and his agenda is to flip Congress and more than just political party, but flip Congress to have a majority of people who have the political will to do what is necessary to stop Donald Trump and the threat that he brings. And so, like, I'm curious, like, for me, in like having that same sense, it was like, okay, I need to throw my hat in the ring and run for this office. For you, it sounds like you, sensing the same thing, have decided to get organized and organize people to bring about pressure in this way. Like, talk about like how, like, what does citizens impeachment look like? What, like, how are you organized? What is it?
Yeah. So I started out really naive, and I imagined that, you know what, maybe there's just not actually enough public pressure to make something happen. And so I ended up connecting with someone who used to work in the Senate. And they were saying, well, the Senate can slow down all of this. All they have to do is deny unanimous consent. So unanimous consent is what the Senate uses to bypass the rules of the Senate, which are kind of old and archaic and take a long time. Any senator can stand up and say, hey, let's skip this rule, right? And if nobody objects, they skip the rule and they move on. They use that process about 20 times a day. And any senator at any time can stand up and object to unanimous consent. And then they have to do it the long way with the rules that they already have. That's it. There is no penalty for it. You really you're not going to be able to change the rules in the Senate. All you got to do is stand up and say, I object. And then you get to give a little speech about why you object. So if the senators really wanted to talk about how terrible this president was, they could just refuse to allow for unanimous consent and give their speech and grandstand about it all the time and really change the tone of the conversation. And so I am a data-driven person. I was a scientist in a past life. And so, I started counting. How many times do they use unanimous consent? And by the time, like within 2 months, we reached about 700 times that they use unanimous consent. They used it to clap for Mitch McConnell and his retirement. They used it to applaud a high school team that won a championship. They used it to attempt to get the Senate to condemn Russia like 6 different times, and it got shot down every single time. Like it's it is kind of remarkable once you see that gap in the system, just to recognize how little action is being taken. So from there, it became very apparent that the Senate wasn't going to do this. So okay, let's go to the House. We got to impeach now because the people in the Senate are not doing their job and obstructing as a minority party, which is 100% something that they can do. Let's get the House to impeach. That's the next step. So we recruited, 1,000 people. 600 of them sent an email at the exact same time on April 7th. On that Tuesday morning, we had every single office get contacted. I think maybe we had to email South Dakota, but all other 434 of them got emailed. We included an article of impeachment that we wrote, and we said, are you guys going to do this or what? And then 3 weeks later, Representative Thanedar from Michigan picked up that article of impeachment, dropped it in his own impeachment resolution, and brought it to the floor of the House for a vote. He used what's called Rule 9, and this is a question of privilege of the House. Any member at any time can introduce articles of impeachment using this rule and demand that leadership vote on it. They have to. It's part of their procedure. He got bullied out of that by Democratic leadership. And he withdrew that. So there wasn't a vote in April. And of course, we all know what's happened since April. April was when Doge was running wild and all the federal workers were being fired, and Elon Musk was in there just wreaking havoc. But even at that point in time, there was still enough to impeach. We had just dealt with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, right, and his lack of due process. So there were unconstitutional and illegal actions occurring throughout that time period, but Congress didn't want to impeach at that point. And so after that, we organized our folks into sending emails, trying to get the press secretaries to go on the record, talking to the legislative directors for new articles of impeachment as we wrote them. Tyranny is one of the articles, and obstruction of justice for the Epstein files is another one that we have. And we have morphed this group from those 600 people to about 13,000 now. Everybody shows up every Monday and emails all these offices, right? And what we keep hearing in both responses to constituents, like in meetings that we have with them and their representative or their staff, is that, well, we have to wait until after the midterms. We got to wait until we have the votes. And again, I just want to go back to the point I made earlier where we don't. Any representative can file articles of impeachment at any time. That is something that they 100% can do, and they're simply refusing to. But, if you're not going to do this work, if you're not going to use the power that you have for the purpose that it is intended for, then we would be super naive to assume you're going to use it after the midterms. So what we did was we escalated and we set up Courage for Democracy alongside of citizens impeachment. And Courage for Democracy has 110 courage candidates, all of whom are pro-impeachment, all of whom have committed to introduce articles of impeachment on day one. Rob is one of those courage candidates. And yeah, we've got the articles, we've got the people, we've got the will. All we need to do is get them into office, because there's absolutely no way that we're just going to sit on the sidelines while this keeps happening.
So, Kira, like, articles of impeachment are not designed to solve the question of is an executive order or an action of a president constitutional or not, right? There is a process for that. The courts do that.
Sure.
The examples that you've given are things that the administration had a view on. They went to court, the courts ruled, then the president responds to it.
But can I just interject a point there? Impeachment is not a criminal trial.
No, I understand, but they're high crimes and misdemeanors. Like, it's not. Impeachment is not supposed to be, I think he did something unconstitutional, let's impeach him. If the belief is they've done something unconstitutional, that needs to be argued.
You can impeach for anything. You could impeach this man for being too orange if you wanted. Congress gets to determine what it is.
No, I think the Constitution is clear that it is a high crimes.
You can
Okay, so
you can identify anything as a high crime and misdemeanor. if
I
Congress
understand,
wants.
but this is why 100 times articles of impeachment have been introduced in the
Yes.
House of Representatives. So
Well, wait,
that
100 times?
yeah, more than 100 times have articles against a president been brought to the House of Representatives to be taken up.
Yeah,
so it's
and
very common.
And it hasn't gone very far.
No, it hasn't gone very far.
When, I would like to know more about these 100 articles because I don't know them. Where did they show up?
A quick summary: 100 plus impeachment articles have been introduced against the president historically. So that's just
Not this president, you're saying?
No. Presidents.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 100 plus times, people have brought articles of impeachment against presidents.
Okay.
And to my mind, this president has committed actions that are not just open for disagreement. He's done a bunch of that, but he has done specific things that have violated his constitutional responsibility. He did it in his first term. There were 2 times that articles of impeachment were brought to the Senate and were voted on. What are the things that you believe he has done that should be understood by the population, by Congress, as these are the kinds of crimes, the kinds of misdeeds that a president has committed that warrant him being removed from office, that are not just he's too orange or I didn't like what he did in this one thing or he said something. Yes, Congress, but impeachment is a serious action.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whether Bill Clinton's actions rose to the level of being impeachable, I don't know. Whether George Bush's actions were, whether Barack Obama's were, I think not. What are in your articles of impeachment that you're sending to these Congress people that you want them to say, look, this is the kind of thing that we mean in this country when this person has committed some action that we think is worthy of what we will determine as a high crime and violation of the law?
Sure. It's a long list. Can I talk for a little bit?
Yeah, pick one, or like what's in the what did you put in the one you sent in April and the emails you've sent more recently? What are the actions that you would say, okay, that's the crime?
Yep. So we have 3 articles of impeachment right now. We're working on a 4th one, which is corruption, and that's just the ways that Donald Trump has enriched himself in office. Bribery is one of the crimes listed in Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution. That one will be coming out shortly. The other 3 are tyranny, treason, and obstruction of justice. Under tyranny, we have 3 categories. That's when either the government violates your civil liberties as an individual, as they did with due process with Kilmer Abrego Garcia, as they have done repeatedly in attempting to get rid of birthright citizenship, as the 14th, sorry, that's the 14th Amendment. The use of ICE to kick in doors, explicitly violating the 4th Amendment in memos, right? This administrative entity is endorsing and promoting these ways in which it can violate your civil liberties. The second piece of tyranny is going to be usurping powers of Congress. And this is a real easy one because this is also just written down in the Constitution, right? You have the usurpation of the War Powers Act, which has happened repeatedly, right? Not just for Venezuela, not just for Iran once, but for Iran again. And now we are in the middle of this war. You also have the usurpation of powers of the purse. And this is when you have duly appropriated funds that are just negated wholesale, where you have the firing of these federal workers falls under that same structure, because that is illegal. You cannot do that once Congress appropriates those funds for that purpose. That's not what the executive does. And the third piece of it is unchecked aggression, and that includes the threats of violence made towards allies like Greenland, and the threats of violence made to folks that we've historically had a lot of tension with, like Cuba, right? We are just out there asking Mexico if we can go ahead and send drones into their sovereign territory because we feel like we should get to some cartel that we're interested in. This is a violation of the rules-based world order that we've operated in for a really long time. So that's tyranny. Treason is the assembly of men to revolutionize the government by force. This has happened several different ways. Most notably is with ICE and other federal forces that have been deployed to American cities to terrorize the American people. This is still going on, even if Kristi Noem has been reassigned to a special envoy position, even if Tom Homan said the surge in Minnesota is done. There are still federal agents accountable to no one but the federal government, occupying cities over the objections of the people charged with their safety and security. That is treason. That undermines the fabric of this country. And then the third one is the obstruction of justice for the Epstein files. Obstruction of justice, this one I modeled, I write all these, this one I modeled on the Watergate articles of impeachment. And they map directly onto what is happening with the Epstein files, to include Pam Bondi and Donald Trump substituting their judgment for the judgment of Congress in violation of HR 4405, which is supposed to release the Epstein Files Transparency Act, and the repeated and continuous violations of, just Pam Bondi's testimony, really, that I should have just taped that and submitted it with this article of impeachment. She just straight up lying to Congress about it. Yeah, exactly. So those are the three that are currently up there. And as you say, there are thousands of examples. But in order to keep it simple, because the flood of chaotic and unconstitutional and illegal actions is so overwhelming, we've grouped it into these three buckets so that the next time we bomb a country without talking to Congress, I can slide it into unchecked aggression and tyranny. And the next time he obstructs justice for another criminal investigation, I can go ahead and slide that into the obstruction of justice one. They're not going to stop their game.
Oh, wow. So super interesting. You know, what's fascinating about this is that, impeachment feels, and we kind of talked about this at the beginning of the conversation, like a nuclear option there. It feels kind of sensationalistic, right? Like it feels like, it's very scandal oriented.
But why is it? Why is it
right? But that's what's like. That's a point I'm making. It's super interesting that while it feel like when we hear the word impeachment, it has that kind of baggage. But what you're taking, Kira, is this like very no nonsense constitutional approach of like, here's the letter of the law, and here's how it's being violated. Very simply.
Just speak to the scandal piece of it, right? The reason it has that connotation is because it was wielded like a club during the Bill Clinton years. Well, one of the crucial things about that time is that many of the people that were involved in that impeachment came to the press saying, well, there's nothing I can do. I have an obligation. It is my oath to support and defend the Constitution. And this guy violated the precept of he's unfit to be in office, right?
Yeah, he lied under oath.
Lied under oath. That's disqualifying. At that point in time, Congress considered their responsibility and their oath of office to be a binding commitment. And boy, that is not the case right now.
Well, they did it in Trump's first term, right? And things that were so clear, like he was extorting Ukraine, so that he could, demanding that they were going to work on his behalf in an upcoming election. And then he oversaw and demanded that people attack the United States Capitol and let them keep going, and did nothing to stop it. Those actions were not determined to be worthy by the Senate for him to be convicted of the impeachment crimes that were brought before him.
Okay, can I add
so if this is a serious effort, what is it that the Senate needs to do? Because getting to 51% of the House is one thing, getting to 2/3 of the Senate, what will it take if many of the same characters are in the Senate currently that were there when he was charged with these other two actions? What gets them to this point?
Sure. So a little bit of context about why the Senate did not vote for conviction there. The Senate actually takes a separate oath when they oversee the impeachment proceedings. And they're supposed to swear an oath where they say, I will duly take into consideration the evidence that is presented to me. Senators just skipped the trial. and then they showed up to vote for their party leader. And that right there, that is a violation of, of their oath once again, right? Two oaths, I guess, because they had to swear another one in order to deal with impeachment. What the Senate should have done at that point, if, again, they consider themselves an actual body of government with power and integrity to, defend, they should have expelled the people that blatantly violated their oath. This is a power that they have. They can go ahead and set that up, and they can kick those people out. These types of self-governing practices have just vanished from Congress as a whole, right? They are not doing this sort of self-regulation at this point in time. So in order to get the Senate to convict, we're going to need to do two things. One of them is replace people when we can, right? And the other one is make them afraid of the public. And I fully intend to turn this machine that I have built for the House on the Senate as soon as we get articles of impeachment passed. People are organized by district. I can group them by state, and that gives me anywhere from 500 to 1,000 people ready and willing to email their senators every single day if we ask. Because this time, impeachment is not something that Congress is like, I guess I got to do it. This time, it is a citizen-led movement, and they cannot stop us.
And if people want to know more, citizensimpeachment.org. .com, where com stands for community. Citizensimpeachment.com is the place. And if people go there, they can see the articles, they can see the write-up. I know you have things on there about like myths that people understand about impeachment, how it works, a bunch of explainers, and then ways for people to be involved. Is that right?
Absolutely. And what I would recommend is as soon as you take a look at Citizens Impeachment and sign up for those Monday actions there, go find your local courage candidate on couragefordemocracy.com, because as I said, the quest for impeachment, we have escalated it to replacing everybody in Congress, because right now this Congress doesn't want to do its job. So
how many candidates for courage are currently listed there?
We have 115 and growing. More folks come in every week as they learn about us. Our first 5 candidates have made it through made it to the general election, including Rob here, running uncontested in Arkansas. And let me just throw out here, running against Steve Womack, who refused to meet with at least 3 of his constituents when we were requesting offices or meetings with offices. So seems like there's not a lot of constituent feedback there. So the first 5 are through. We have 2 more in runoffs, and our next primary is going to be in Illinois on the 17th, and we have 12 candidates there. So we are just charging on through. Replace them all is a very serious mission for us.
Well, Kira, thank you. Thanks for this work, for your service that you provided before to the country, and for anything else that you're up to that we don't know about that's part of this common goodery.
All right. Thank you so much.
Anything else you want to leave us with?
Man, the most important thing you can do if you are listening to this as a citizen is to show up and to ask the simplest question you can. And then if they stall, if they give you a bunch of word salad, say, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you would do there. I didn't hear an action. And just keep going until they commit to an action or they answer your question, because these folks are not used to being challenged, and they are not used to having accountability. Even if you ask them, pick a date and I'll follow up with you, that makes them extremely nervous. So
that's great.
Yeah.
I'm coming back like a summer cold. Yeah. All right.
Kira, thank you so much. And everybody should check out citizensimpeachment.com.
Thank you so much, folks.